Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 1 finale of Go Go Loser Ranger. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, but we get a little bit of a flashback to 13 years ago, and we find out that the Dusters were only just made when the boss monsters made their way to Earth. Once again, there's so much context we don't have because it's like, wait, so is Earth the first place that you've come to conquer? Have you not conquered any other planet in this universe? If that, where are the boss monsters from? And it's like, because like, if Earth's the first place, that must mean, and they were talking about like, oh, these guys will basically be our shields. Like, we'll kind of use them as cannon fodder. So I'm like, oh, so you've never had any minions, any putties, any dusters before now. This is your first time making them, so makes you wonder, like, are they the only ones going out trying to conquer Earth, or are there other boss monsters with their own legions doing their other things to other planets? There's so much we don't know, and I don't know. I don't need actual answers right now. These are just rhetorical questions. Once again, just wondering about the lore of this universe. So I don't know if that's questions we eventually get answered in this series, or whether it's just something like, no, that's just never going to be answered because this is this story, and that's kind of all that matters, you know? I'm just curious about that, but it was interesting. And I guess it makes a lot of sense why the Dusters would be named the way they are. Just kind of, I'm sure it was just kind of the thing of, well, you're all fighters. Well, we'll basically name you based. I wonder, was it actually based on the like way they woke up and like were born, or was it just kind of like you just happen to roll them up? It's like, you're A. Well, A got killed like at the beginning of the. We saw that like a few months later after being born. A got killed by Red, the Red Dragon Keeper. So. But it's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's just kind of like Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts. Everyone's specific number is based on the order they joined the organization. So it's kind of the same deal. So, but yeah, it's like, yeah, there from the beginning, you didn't know anything. You don't even know what you are, who you are. It's like, yeah, here's the boss monsters, which also we confirm, because I was thinking it has a very unique design. So the thing that Blue Shogu killed couple years ago when he became Blue, getting his revenge against that boss monster. It's like, yeah, that thing is in fact a boss monster. I figured as much, but I wasn't sure. But yeah, we see it standing beside that other boss monster, which that one's dead. So I'm like, okay, so you guys are definitely dead. So I was like, how the hell did Peltorota like manage to not get got when everyone else did? That's so interesting. He managed to avoid the purge. I mean, we saw, so in total we know 3 boss monsters, but like how many were there in total? They've kept that number vague. I'm sure where the manga is now, it's probably like defined, but once again, just based on the anime, because it's just all I know. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know. So we saw obviously the beginning of that subjugation for the fighters, and like Red spitting it, being like, yo, like the fact is, this is, he kind of wants, well, he's got a lot more twisted version of what Hibiki wants. Hibiki wants the union between humans and monsters, like there to be like a peaceful coexistence, and Red spinning it like that's what we're doing, even though it's enslavement and subjugation. It's like, but it's also that double-edged sword, because you're like, well, to be fair, these monsters did come here to conquer Earth, but it's like, two wrongs don't make it right. But it's like, it's like, and you're also like, it's not like the Rangers have like the best of intentions. Like they're doing some like shady shit and they're lying to everyone. So it's like, I mean, their deal has kind of kept Earth safe, but it's kind of benefited them beyond just keeping up this ruse and keeping them power and positions. Like, what else are they potentially getting out of this whole deal? I mean, being worshipped as heroes and being celebrities is like, that's more than enough in its own right, I'm sure, but I wonder if there's something more, especially for Red. It was also neat seeing D, I mean, because everyone's kind of done the rigmarole of being like, over the 13 years, once a week, and for 12-ish years, of course you're going to have, like, some of them, like, play the role of the monsters, and we got to see, like, D's version, which kind of looks very close to the one that they did at the beginning of this series in episode 1. But it's like, right, once again, they were recycling ideas, or trying to avoid recycling ideas after like over a decade. It's actually interesting though that D and XX actually met years ago, but I don't think D remembers. And like at that point, D didn't have like a I think, a delineation at that point, but it was like, right, it's when XX and the others left, because they're like, right, the boss monsters can't be dead. Like, they must be hiding out, waiting for an opportunity to strike. So she's the only one. She had made that clear previously. I thought it was going to be a thing of, oh, like the rest of them look different. It's like, no, it seems like XX has a very unique design. Because we have seen, there is a, was it H? There was a female Duster we got introduced to in episode 1, but she had the same design as like D. So her having such a unique design is interesting, because even amongst the Dusters we saw leaving to go to the surface, all of them looked like exactly the same. Like, she's the only one that has such a very, very unique design. So I think that's interesting. And once again, I guess that just kind of plays into why she's special in her own regard. But yeah, like, she calls D a coward because he's like, yeah, I side with you on wanting to make moves, but the fact of the matter is we can't really do anything. The boss monsters are gone. Like, even then it's kind of like, well, they're all dead, because he wasn't even thinking like, oh, they might still be alive, and especially all those years, eventually when years pass. Because it seemed like pretty early on when those XX and the others left. It seemed pretty early on, so none of them returned, so it's kind of assumed like, hey, they're dead. Not unless there were others in hiding, but XX made it seem like she was the only one that's still alive, but there could be others like creeping out and about, so. Either way, when that's all said and done, we cut back to present day, and I think it speaks volumes that D's like, I'm not going to hide as Sakurama anymore. I'm going to fight you as me, Fighter D. And even Blue's like, wow, so you weren't dead after all. All right, let's do this. But he's like, I know if I don't squash you now, the fact is you might come back and live on to be more dangerous than a boss monster. So I need to nip this in the bud. Because also D could be an inspiration to the other monsters, granted, like, he hasn't coincided with him. We know there's been other Sunday like events, but he hasn't contacted him. He hasn't been back to the fortress. Kind of has no reason to. It's like, my mission is here. Well, to be fair, he's been stuck on the ground for the past couple episodes because of the whole cadet thing. So pretending to be Sakurama. So he hasn't. There's no opportunity that has presented itself for him to be able to do that regardless. But yeah, got the burst form activated, and he's going toe-to-toe. Luckily, Blue is winded, which even he's like, yo, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm not going to be like, oh, wait, I'm going to give you opportunity. Like, no, I'm going to take my chance, you know? So it's like, this is the perfect opportunity, because I'm like, yo, this is about, like, putting you down mano-y-mano, but he still can't compare, considering, like, right, Blue has all the cheats in the world, because he's got literal divine, like a dragon god weapon, which is like, wait, what, dragon god? What's that? It's like, don't worry about it, but just know that I've got a god on my side. He's like, but D was kind of feeling, he's like, yo, does that mean I'm fighting a god? He's like, hell yeah. You know, whatever the case may be, I'm going to do my thing, but he's still severely outmatched. And even when he thought he had that strike on Blue, it's like, once again, being able to pretend to be Kono at one point in time, even he even like disappeared and reappeared behind him to strike. And it's like, oh, you're a coward for that and stuff. It's like, he's like, because at one point Kano was behind him, and D like did the honorable thing and just walked away from him. He's like, yeah, I don't need any witnesses. He's like, oh, that's interesting, considering how cowardly you are to use that like mimicry ability. He's like, it's not cowardly, it's my ability, so it's fair. It's like, yeah, it's the only thing I have in my arsenal, you know, so it's kind of like, how is that fair? This is what ability I was born with, and I'm making the most of it. It's perfectly fine for me to do this. Like I said, he wants this to be this battle of the ages, and he changes his arm into a blade because the burst form finally wore out, so there's that energy, and they're going mano and mano. He's kind of like, and he's excited about it. It's like, this is kind of what it is. Me, the monster, evil, versus this person of justice. It's almost like battle of the ages. I was like, there's no way it's just going to be this, and blip. I was like, what the hell? He got shot through the neck, and at the same time, D's like stabbing him. He's like, wait, what? And then we find out there's still at least one more Peltorola. It makes sense. Why wouldn't you keep one hidden? It's, you know, as another duplicating character said sometime this year, you know, tired of dying, so it's kind of like, yeah, I always want to keep one in reserve and hidden away. I also think it's interesting. I think this is the first time we've ever gotten this confirmation. I mean, it makes sense. Each one of those Peltorola bodies, sorry, I couldn't speak there, are all their own beings because they don't share a mind. I mean, XX knows that he killed one of the Peltorolas, but like she doesn't know he was upstairs working with the Rangers to kill another one. And Peltorola doesn't seem to know that, because like, why would you be so copacetic? So they are their own entities. They're, we don't have to worry about that, because I mean, there was things in episode 10 that kind of made that clear when Peltorola came over to XX and D and didn't say anything about it. So it's always been there, but I just never noticed it until now. But like, D's super upset because he's like, whoa, no, come on, like, get up, Blue. You can't be dead from this. Like, come on, like, heal or something. Like, just can't be the end, Because it's like, no, this was supposed to be my fight. Because he wanted to be fair and square. And it's like, I mean, to be fair, he's wounded, but it kind of puts him on a more even playing field with you, a fighter who's not that strong. So it's interesting. He's a bad guy with morals and a code. And it's just like, no, this isn't what I want. This isn't how this was supposed to go. And even Peltorola being like, yes, D, good on you. Like, this is how we monsters are. Like, we're not going to get so caught up in something like that. And it's sad, too, because both of them were motivated by, this was a clashing of ideals and pride and their dreams and goals. And it's sad too, because we saw with Shugo, like, he was like, right, I want to fight because I never want to lose anything ever again. And we see that the facility that the previous Blue, that kind of foster home facility, it seems like it got shut down, which I guess does confirm that the previous Blue did in fact die, which makes sense. The reason, because like at the last episode, Red was like, oh, he was severely injured, he's probably going to go. I just wasn't sure, but it's like, yeah, because that facility wasn't a Ranger thing. That was purely Blue's, like the former Blue. That was purely his charity and just his own thing. So it had no Ranger support. So without him, it finally, I guess, buckled. And I guess Blue was just so caught up in his need for revenge, joining the Rangers, he just let that place go. And I think he eventually regretted it. It's like, I chose my path of revenge and power. And it's like, I got this power and it kind of cost me that. So was it even worth it in the end? He even kind of says, like, almost like, oh, I got beat by true evil, because it's like my justice was like so half-assed, I think maybe he's kind of implying, like, my journey here wasn't even like with the most moral and most good, integral, my resolve was kind of half-assed in front of like this pure evil. And it's sad to see the situation. Like, you figured it had to go this way, but like, for one, you feel bad for D having his victory robbed from him. Who knows if it would have gone that way for him, but it's still like, it would have been like, this is what was meant to be, and it was a cheap shot that ended this, And so we see that Peltorola goes inside of XX, because she can shift into other people. Once again, she's not as good as D, but she could probably still walk around in her regular form without drawing too much attention. Not her monster form, but the form she typically is that looks human-like. And she tells D, I'm sorry, but like, loyalty, like, this is how I live. She lives and breathes, like, she doesn't agree with like Petorola, she's scared of Petorola, but it's still the thing of she's bound by her loyalty as a duster, and it's just like, that can't be shaken. So it's kind of like, right, I'm going to let him hide out in me. I don't know if that's going to be he's going to hibernate in you like the tree situation, eventually burst out of you like a la Alien style, or whether it's just going to be like until you can get to a safe enough place. Probably he needs a place to lay low to recover. That's why I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be a repeat of the tree situation. So I mean, she's not dead, but you did see like the strain it was putting on her, because like she started having like cracks around her mouth, because it was like it was taking its toll on, I think, on her body. So I think eventually like she might die in the moment Petorola has got to be reborn, and like her body ends up being the host that he burst out of. So we'll see how that plays out. But obviously news eventually breaks about Blue's death. And obviously the Rangers are keeping it hidden that it was a boss monster. They don't want to worry the public too much. But obviously, like, you saw Hisu kind of being upset about it. It's like, right, like, the fact is we got to get more recruits. Like, this is, like, it's about to turn into a full-blown war again. Like, the last time it was kind of a war was 13 years ago. Other than that, we've had this pseudo-peace created by the Dragon Keepers. So now that's kind of being broken now, and we're going to need full force. I mean, because in, like, I think, because the former Blue, when he died, he was still an active Ranger, so it's probably been a while since an active Dragon Keeper died. So it is kind of the thing of like, holy shit, one of the 5 big top dogs got offed. That's pretty big news. So that is concerning. But people are like, oh, we still trust in the Keepers and the Rangers, but it's still a little concerning, you know? So... And I love that thing with Red when one of the juniors is like, oh, you know, I can't believe Blue got killed, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, hey, you want to talk about that in front of me? I was like, are you really being genuine right now? And then he proceeded to show his true colors, Red being like, oh my God, our pose was so perfect and now it's not going to work because there was like an equilibrium to there being 5. Now we got to adjust to it being 4. Or no, because it was like specifically because like I think Shogu's like the tallest of them or something like that. Maybe that's what it was, or am I misremembering? And it was like, oh, okay, you're a dick, because even the juniors almost like, what? It's like, oh, so for whatever reason, people still don't know how much of a sociopath Red is. He's still, him and Blue are the only ones we've gotten an opportunity to really get to know. Obviously, we got a little bit more with Pink this season, but Yellow still eludes us, and Green as well, so... You'd assume because of how that whole ranking thing works, like the next in line would be Izomi. She would be the next Blue, wouldn't she? You'd think. It's kind of sad too, because like it's actually up to Hisu, even though it's like it would fall on Izomi as like the first ranked junior, but also being from Blue Squadron, that it is a junior from another, because Hisu's from Green, so for her to have to kind of take over that duty, but even like Suzukiri is like, yeah, it'd be too cruel to ask Izomi to do that right now in her stage. Like, because, like, obviously the Blue Squadron's, like, taking it hard regardless, but it's also, like, Izomi out of anyone was the closest to Shogu. Like, she got to know him, and she got to understand him in a way no one else did. So, obviously, that's going to be rough. And, like I said, we'll see whether or not she becomes the next Blue, or whether that... It seems like that's supposed to be the line of succession of how that worked, but I don't know. Because his Red's previous first-ranked junior before Tokita, the dude that got like punched into the wall and killed, he was talking about it was going to be his next. So, and he was the junior first rank at that time. So, some other interesting developments. First and foremost, we find out Suzukiri isn't the only insider, because the moment that someone was talking on the phone, I was like, wait, are you a monster as well? But it's like, no, he's just a regular human the way he attacked Red. So it's like, right, he's like, Petrola got out with something. I'm like, wait, was that all for a reason? Like, it was Petrola there for a reason? Like, what did he leave with? Like, not less it's... Because Suzukiri later on says, like, oh, I got another one, referencing a divine artifact. So I'm like, okay, so does that mean that... Because we saw that... I mean... I guess in my head I assumed... Because it seemed like it was a cave, I guess, like... I don't know where... D was when he was coming out of that cave. I was like, did he bury? Because that looked... I don't know if that was him just coming out of like the underground area or something like that. I don't know. But like it seemed like the Blue's divine artifact was under some rubble. So it's like, okay, so did he leave it there? Was it just left from where it was in the aftermath of the battle? That whole scene was unclear to me. But it's like, was that what this organization is looking for? What Petuella was supposed to get, or was it something else entirely? Like, that's super unclear. But then, because at first I was like, whoa, was there another opposing organization to the Rangers? But then I was like, oh wait, there is Suzukiri. So I guess my assumption the entire time was like Suzukiri was soloing this kind of like Fighter D Woods, but it's like, no, seems like there's a whole other entire organization that potentially backs her. So it's like, how many people amongst the Rangers are on their side? If those could easily be two separate things. Like, Suzukiri's circumstances could be completely different from the dude that Red beat the living hell out of. So, but it's like, yeah, we have a traitor amongst us, which we know it's Suzukiri, but it's like, how many other people have been sprinkled into this organization? I mean, technically, that would have meant you have at bare minimum 3. Consider you have Suzukiri D, as well as the guy that Red beat up this episode. And you'd assume this has something to do with what Suzukiri had, like, the Petrola, like, was saying, like, oh yeah, like, it makes sense all in the world why you would do what you're doing. We got that flash of, like, this dragon. people who looked very Shrine Maiden-ish. So I'm like, okay, so maybe that's the organization or remnants from that organization, whatever it was, whoever they were, have now sprouted into this anti-Rangers Dragon Keepers thing, because I assume it has to deal with all those weapons, that the divine artifacts, and even their mascot Draggy, like why he's kind of a dragon. Like it's all connected. We just don't have them all the information to fully connect it all to see like, okay, that's what this is all about type of situation. I do think it's that interesting that Tokido was like, oh, Suzukiri, like, you seem like you're kind of happy that Blue died. Like, are you not on our side? And it's like, oh, like, how dare you, like, accuse a fellow compatriot? And it's like, I know that he's like, the fact is that this this cartridge for Red was supposed to have gone missing, but it's proof that, I don't know if he found in Suzukiri's like room or something like that. And she's like, yeah, but you didn't immediately turn it in, because I guess that's how he was able to use the weapon. So I'm like, so everyone, all the junior first range like people, I wonder if that why it looks so similar to Red's attack with his sword, because it's one of the cartridges. Which also answers a question I had previously. I was like, is that just a blue thing, or can they all do it? It's like, no, they all have cartridges. But it seems like they're given to like one or two of their like higher ranked juniors. So I don't know if that's kind of implying, like, because I guess everyone assumed he had a fake divine artifact weapon, even though he kind of had a real one with the cartridge. I don't know what to make of that scene entirely, because I'm like, so he had it and he was just using it. So it's like, yeah, he's going to kind of keep that to himself. It's like, wouldn't Red eventually find out you have that? So I was unclear whether he was saying he was actually going to turn it in, or don't tell me to turn it in type of thing, without, because yeah, you can give me away, but you're also going to give yourself away. Well, we've all seen how Red handles stuff. He's not the most all there person sometimes when it comes to people doing stuff he doesn't like. So obviously our cadets are picking up in the aftermath of everything, and it's like, right, Ishikawa's death, it's like, yeah, he doesn't even really, because he was just a cadet, he wasn't even a full-blown ranger, so he doesn't kind of get the ranger burial, I guess, is kind of their perspective on it. But it's still Usukubo kind of comes from the perspective of he died like accomplishing what he wanted to, like kind of being able to fight against the monster, to be able to help take them down. Like that's what he wanted, like to kind of enact his justice, and he kind of got that in the end. So, but now it's up to them to kind of keep moving forward. Now that Ishikawa's dead, and it's like, oh, what about Kaguma? And it's like, well, Kaguma's buddy says like, nah, I'm like, was it I'm blanking on who dude's name now, but Koguma's buddy, and it's like, yeah, the monster, he's like, well, because Shion saw it when Blue and XX were going at it, but when XX was disguised as Kaguma, so it's like, right, that was seen. And then there's also, apparently she told him what happened to Kaguma, but it's like, it turns out Kaguma's not dead. He got pierced through the chest, but like luckily he was taken to like someone who could patch him up. And even, D was like, who could have done that? It's like, it had to be XX, because by the time the junior ranks got there, after all of that, Kaguma's body was already gone. So you could imply like maybe one of them got to him first, but it's more likely like XX did that for whatever reason. She felt pity on him. Once again, she doesn't fully, she goes with what Petrulla wants out of loyalty, but even she still kind of pulls away from it, and because there's that fear response she has towards Petrulla. So, but now it's just kind of like our group reconfirming what they have planned and what they're going to do going forward. We also have that tease at the end, which we saw someone in a brownish cloak, and they lift up and they have green eyes, which are like, wait, Sakurama, but your face is all burned up. Like what the hell happened to you? Like, I mean, he's the only one that, like, him and his sister is like green eyes, so not unless that's their dad or something still alive. I highly doubt that. But I'm like, green eyes, it has to be Sakurama, right? maybe, maybe not. But I'm like, why? What happened to you? Once again, we went the entire season not picking up with your story. Well, with the rest of the season not picking up your story, knowing what you've been up to this entire time. It's definitely going to be interesting to ultimately see how this all plays out going forward. The show has been renewed for a second season. I've been outside of the anime world for so long. I've been kind of dipping my toe in, obviously, more and more recently. But it's like, so finding out something saying like, oh yeah, the anime will most likely premiere sometime like next year. I was like, really? That fast? Because I'm like so used to so much animation stuff taking so long. But I always forget, like, also we're talking about like America versus Japan when it comes to like, well, like how that work. It's, you know, obviously like there's been studios that have caught a lot of flack specifically in Japan about how they treat their animators and stuff. So I don't know like Japan's production schedule on like pre-production and stuff like that for like animation. Coming obviously a lot of animes come out like seasonally for the most part. I think once again I've just been so out of the loop for so long I kind of forget that. But I don't know whether they had already started on season 2, so that's why it's able to come out next year, or whether it's just like, no, just Japan has that turnaround for better and for worse in a lot of ways. So either way, I'm excited to continue the story and see where it goes. Get potentially some of the questions I had this season answered next season. I mean, who knows whether new questions might pop up, but to see the continuation of D's story as he continues to pretend to be Sakurama and where that takes him as well as the other cadets, you know, because it's like, well, they kind of all succeeded in taking down the monster, but this is the boss monster, but this is just the beginning. Because D's the only one that knows Petrola got away, I believe. He should be, because they all think like all the other versions are dead for the most part, so... who knows? I don't know if they know that Petrola got away. They're probably assuming because they can't be for sure that none of them got away. I mean, yeah, because they definitely know that's the case because they assume the only one that could have killed, only one who could have killed Blue would be a boss monster. So they do know Petrola's still out there and out about. Once again, whether he's the only one, whether there's any other fighters / dusters like just kicking it here on Earth. A lot of that. It's going to be interesting to see the continuation of all this into season 2. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.